horrifically busy. By the end of my second year, I was extremely burnt out. I think it was about 2 a.m. We got a call saying that there was a snake bite coming in. Obviously, having trained in New Zealand, I knew nothing about snakes. On top of that, financially, it's obviously highly lucrative. You can make 3 to 4 times what the same doctors are working.
But then not making a decision, not investing, that is a decision. Hi, everyone. In this episode, we have another doctor interview. Today, we have Dr. Anurag Ganugapati, an emergency doctor based in Victoria, and also founder of the app statdoctor. Welcome, Anu, to the show.
Oh, yeah, it's great to be here.
Yeah. So we'll start with what influenced your decision to study medicine?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. I think growing up, I definitely didn't want to be a doctor. I wasn't one of those typical people who said that when they were 5 or 6 that medicine called them. I come from a long family of engineers, and growing up, my dad is an engineer, my grandfather was an engineer, and my older brother was an engineer. And so growing up, definitely the engineering pathway was something that was kind of put in front of me as a career. I was good academically at school, quite good at kind of physics and calculus and maths. And in about year 11 or 12, I had a really good biology teacher, and I did quite well in biology. And that kind of just triggered something in me to think maybe anatomy or human biology would be something of benefit. And so, well, after high school, I had a plan of just trialing medicine. I'm from New Zealand. So in New Zealand, most of the medical graduates are undergraduate entry, and there's a 1-year kind of competitive course to get into medicine. So after high school, I went to Otago University and to quite a highly competitive first year health sciences year of maybe 2,000, 3,000 students. And there's maybe 200 medical spots. That also feeds into dentistry and physio and pharmacy. And my plan was I gave myself a year to see if I got into medicine. And if I didn't, I would then kind of try my hand at engineering. But I was quite lucky. I did quite well in that first year, got a spot into medicine, and basically haven't looked back since.
Yeah. Okay. That's very interesting. I guess in the Australian side, it was probably similar, end of whole. Obviously you have to do the HSE New South Wales, the ATAR. But then also there's run, I'm pretty sure once a year. It was called UMAT at the time. Now it's UCAT, to try and enter medicine. But yeah, obviously competitive. But wow, out of 200.
Yeah, it's highly sought after and highly competitive. And we did the same thing in terms of we had 66% of your entry was based on your academic grade and 33% was based on UMAT. So we had some very intelligent, didn't do very well on the UMAT and didn't get spots. And we had some people who did very well on the UMAT and maybe didn't do so well on the academics and missed out on spots. So it was a very tough year, and I was quite lucky to be surrounded by some good people and managed to get through.
Yeah. So you finished medicine in New Zealand, and then can you tell me about your training journey since?
Yeah, so I'm currently a PGY 5. So I finished my training in Christchurch and did my first year of internship in Christchurch. I should say in my first year of health sciences, I met my current partner, and she did an undergraduate at Otago University in New Zealand and then got into medicine at Melbourne Uni. So as I was going through, we did 4 years of long distance, and that was quite hard. And then after my internship, I always had a plan of moving over to Melbourne. So I finished my internship, and then I got a job at the Northern Hospital in Victoria. And that's in Epping, and is quite regarded as probably one of the busiest EDs in Australia. And I did a full year of ED there as a PGY2 and HMO2, and it was hectic. I would come to work almost every day, and there'd be like 30 to 40 patients to see, waiting rooms full, Cat 2s and Cat 3s in the waiting room, or just sitting in the hallways, ECGs done, and it was stressful. And the staff there are just phenomenal. But I think for me personally, Having come from Christchurch, a much smaller hospital, to this big, large Melbourne metro hospital, horrifically busy. By the end of my second year, I was extremely burnt out.
Mm.
I was starting to not enjoy going to work, which I'd never really experienced before. And I was really just not being myself. So after my second year, I decided that I wanted to do a bit of travel, take a bit of time off. And so I decided to try my hand at some locum work. So I signed up to multiple locum agencies and traveled the country for a year and had the most amazing time working mainly in rural emergency departments, picking up shifts when I wanted to. And then that's kind of continued. So in my fourth year, I convinced my partner to come locuming with me, and we locum together. And then this is now my fifth year, and I'm kind of a semi-permanent locum at a rural hospital in Victoria called Portland Hospital. And I've signed a contract to work here till the end of the year.
Wow. Yeah, very nice. And yeah, I guess, we can see the, healthcare system in many countries, including Australia, isn't perfect. Yeah, many things could be improved. Yeah. What is one that, if you had the magic power, what's one thing that you would change?
Yeah, there's just so many aspects. I think the biggest thing, especially having worked in multiple rural hospitals, is I think that rural hospitals get a lot of funding, and I think the way that hospitals allocate their funding is not necessarily the best. And I think that there should be a lot more of a push to hold on to staff, and that's not just medical staff, but nursing staff, allied health staff. I feel like hospitals see the short term, but not necessarily the long term. So, for example, again, I'll bring up Portland, which is where I work currently. There's a couple of long-term doctors who work here who are working and do a phenomenal job, and then there's a whole bunch of locums. And so there definitely should be a push from the hospital to better keep their long-term staff and to better kind of grow and develop their long-term staff with education and building and making sure we, from the grassroots up, they've got great medical students and interns, but what are they doing to kind of promote those people to remain as an HMO2, as an HMO3, as a registrar, so that you can build a kind of long-term platform. And I think at the moment, it's a lot of rural hospitals are just worried about the short term and are putting money into the short-term goals, and potentially losing out on the long-term benefits of building a culture and a hospital that people enjoy working at.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, lots of challenges and lots of complexity. So shifting gears a little bit on our podcast, Passive Income Doctor, what was discussion around money like growing up, and did it influence your mindset or career choice and things like that?
Yeah. So not much discussion was had growing up. My parents are Indian of origin, and in that sort of aspect, they grew up in India, born and raised, and moved over to New Zealand about 35 years ago. And very much of the mindset of saving, building a family, buying a house, saving for retirement, and then retiring. Um, and so money was not necessarily taboo, but wasn't hugely talked about. I think when I kind of when I left high school and left living with my parents, my concept of money was one way. And I think after my first couple of years of university, seeing how other people lived, I think my partner, who comes from a very Western background, who grew up probably discussing money a lot more, whose family is a lot more involved in kind of passive income and investing and property and things like that. She's been a huge influence on me as well as my own education. But I think growing up, yeah, definitely money wasn't necessarily as much talked about. And now having conversations with my family, my brothers and my parents, we're definitely talking about it more. And whether that's a kind of societal thing that it's so much more accessible to have that sort of information and we're now talking about it, or it's an ethnic thing, I'm not too sure. But I'd say my financial literacy went from almost 0 to 100 in the space of my first 2 or 3 years of university.
Yeah, and yeah, thanks for coming on the show, and that's one of the reasons why want to spread the word about, financial health for doctors and healthcare workers. Often we're so, just thinking about career, which is important, but then also, taking the time to learn about money management and investing, especially when you're younger, medical student or junior doctor, I think is very important. Yeah.
Definitely.
Can you tell me about your first job? It could be even, non-medicine, maybe in uni.
Yeah. So my first job was actually in high school. I did a bit of tutoring and I was a cricket coach. So over my summers, I was quite a sporty kid growing up. And so I played cricket and soccer. And I had a younger brother who was 10 years younger than me. So I was able to kind of mix babysitting as well as get earning some money by doing some cricket coaching and some soccer coaching at minimum wage. And again, that was a very, very enjoyable job. That was quite fun.
Yes. And can you tell me about your investing journey to date? Any challenges you've come across and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, absolutely. Investment wise, I would say I think the biggest difficulty or hardship or hardness in investing is the fear of getting involved and starting. I think when there's so many variables and so many people worry about the what ifs. And that was definitely something that was involved in my investment journey all throughout my first years of uni, as well as moving into my internship. While I didn't have too much money in the bank, I was also too scared to put it somewhere, not knowing what if. And obviously it's important to have an emergency fund. But after that, I've kind of learned and I'm a strong believer that if the rest of your money in your bank account is wasted. So I'm trying to kind of moving into my second year all until now my fifth year. My partner and I have very open financial kind of discussions in our relationship, and we're both doctors, so we do make good money. And so we have always been strong advocates of trying to keep as little in the bank and put as much as we can into assets, whether that be property or shares or business, which we've recently started, to making sure that we have as little in the bank as possible almost. And we follow a lot of inspirational people from around the world who do similar things and making sure we're always trying to be better. And the other thing I'd say about investment is not trying to compare yourselves to anyone else. I think that's another thing that hampers people. You hear about these people who have 10x returns or 5x returns, and you're maybe only getting 2x or 3x, and you feel bad. Oh, maybe I missed out on a really important decision. But it's not about anyone else. I think as long as you're trying to grow and learn every day, and you're trying to make your money work for you, just like your podcast does talk about passive income and trying to have assets that can return for you so your money works for you. That's definitely what I would say is the most important.
Yeah. Okay. And it sounds like, is that you and your partner have mainly just kind of shown or have advisors? Because I know some of my colleagues, have been burnt by advisors, while some have had good experiences. I don't know if you have anything like that, or if you have any resources that you've used.
So no formal advisors. I'd say we've done a lot of self-education. We've taken advice, obviously, from our accountant and our lawyers when it comes to some ideas. And I'd say my partner's parents have been pretty influential in kind of reading and seeing how they've gone about their journey and looking at kind of doing things differently and improving on what they've done to fit our life. But yeah, a lot of it's been self-education, reading, podcasts like your podcast, and trying to better ourselves and make sure we have better knowledge. And then just having a go. I think nothing is more important than just having a go. If you have any money in the bank, just seeing what tangible assets can I realistically get involved in that is an appropriate risk for my level of expertise or my level, and then just putting some money in and seeing how it goes and learning from it. So downloading some sort of investment app if you want to invest in shares, or looking at the property market, or just going to your bank and seeing how much you're able to borrow is just a great first step to seeing where you are and just get stuck in. Because even if it doesn't work out, most kind of losses and things are all kind of you can catch them up at some form or another from getting involved. I think is priceless.
Yeah, definitely. I think educating yourself so you kind of don't make mistakes, I would add, is important. But
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. You're not going to well, unless a bit of luck, you're not going to hit it out of the ball first investment.
definitely not.
And yeah, you've got to do your due diligence. But then, if you, yeah, something I read or heard recently is, some people think, oh, it's too hard, so I'll just, won't make a decision. But then not making a decision, not investing, that is a decision in of
Oh,
itself.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the worst decision in my opinion, because you're better to have tried and failed than to have never tried at all. Like the only way you're going to get to the position that maybe you dream of being at one day is giving it a go, and definitely having a salaried income and thinking that that's going to get you there is a long, slow road that realistically is never going to get you there. So you need to invest. You need to make your money work for you. I think it's Grant Cardone who has a really nice little analogy where your job is to trade your time for money initially, and that's your salaried work. And then once you have your money is then your job is to trade your money for more money, and then to trade your money back for time. So then to have your money working for you so you can regain the time, whether that be to spend with your family, to rest, to relax, or to be able to do your job without thinking that this is my only financial source. That's my kind of aim, is to be a doctor because I want to be a doctor, not to be a doctor because I have to be a.
And if you could go back in time to internship, first year out of medical school, any tips you would have for our younger listeners in regards to career progression?
Career, I think, would definitely be you don't have to make a choice. I remember, and a lot of my medical school friends have definitely done this and really enjoy it. But the idea of thinking I have to get onto a surgical training program next year, I have to start doing research and working my weekends and staying up all night and smoozing all the bosses, because if I don't get there and as a PGY3 or as a PGY4, I'm never going to get there. The same for medical positions, which are now getting even harder, or even into GP training programs or anesthetics. I think that I'm now PGY5 and I still am not 100% sure what I want to do. And I definitely don't think that that's ever an issue. We have doctors that I've worked with all across the country. And that's one of the things I really like about locum work, is you meet a whole range of people. But I've met people from HMO3 all the way up to consultants or people who are in their 60s who are still in HMO3 and still trying to work out what they want to do. And that's okay. It's a lifelong decision that you have to make. And it's a 5+ years of training you have to commit to. If at internship you don't know what to do, that's okay. Don't push it. Don't try and fit yourself into a category. I would say try and experience as much of medicine as possible, and then try and let a category find you.
Yeah, very good. And can you tell me a bit about your locum journey? Kind of what benefits have you found from that, and also as well, like any challenges that you've encountered?
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely love locuming. Locum work is the most amazing opportunity you can get as a doctor. You learn a lot about yourself in terms of you're on your own for long periods of time. It's a lot of travel. You have to kind of throw yourself into a community that you don't know, and you have to kind of build yourself up, meet new people, make friends, which I think is a really important thing for self-development. On top of that, financially, it's obviously highly lucrative. You can make 3 to 4 times what the same doctors are working. And I think with debts being as high as they are for med school, it's really important that we set ourselves up financially as early as possible. And so locum work has absolutely been able to allow me to do that, and my partner to do that with our own personal finances, which has been great. Travel, I think, again, with COVID times, locuming is just so. I started locuming right at the beginning of COVID, and I was able to travel around the country while other people were necessarily restricted. And so that was huge opportunities for me. And then the work, in terms of procedures, getting out and about into the country, I've been able to manage nerve blocks, spinal, like epidurals, things I wouldn't be doing as the same grade in a major metro hospital because the training registrars take all the fun stuff. And so if you get out rurally, while it's daunting at first, you have the opportunity to learn and to get stuck in to those sorts of situations. In terms of problems I've definitely had my fair share of issues locuming. I've had and been placed in positions where I maybe didn't feel that comfortable, and I wish I had not taken some shifts. One of them in particular was a night shift at a rural Victorian hospital where it was meant to be me as an HMO3 and there was meant to be a night registrar, and the night registrar called in sick. And so I got told that I'd be working on my own. And I said I was uncomfortable at that time to work on my own. And the HR department said, oh, look, we've done what we can, but we can't find anyone else. And I said, oh, look, I'm still uncomfortable. And they said, okay, we'll pay you the registrar locum rate. And as an HMO3, to get paid the registrar locum rate, which was very lucrative at that time, I definitely was very excited. And I said I'd give it a go, but I asked them to tell the SMO, the FACEM in charge, that I was new and young and whether they could stay behind and help me out or at least be like more available on call. And so I turn up, there's 10 in the waiting room and 2 in recess. And the FACEM goes, oh, look, I've had a horrific day, I'm off. Please don't call me, good luck. And it was very daunting. Managed to work my way through the shift, but then I think it was about 2 a.m, we got a call saying that there was a snake bite coming in. Obviously, having trained in New Zealand, I knew nothing about snakes, nothing about snake bites, never seen one, never met one. I've actually never seen a snake. And so we got a call on like the back phone saying ambulance have wrapped it. They're going to be here. We think it's venomated. And that kind of 3 hours of trying to manage this snake bite. Luckily, it was non-venomating, but I learned everything I could about snake bites in a very short period of time. And I was very thankful to the Austin Poisons team, who are very helpful for all doctors in rural areas, as well as we have really good supports as long as you know where and how to find them. So that was one aspect. And then the second aspect is I've had my fair share of issues with locum agencies. So locum work at the moment is all done through agencies, and there's a lot of agencies around there. There's 65 across Australia. It's a highly lucrative business to be in at the moment because they take up to 20% of the locum doctor's wages, which is, I think in the first premise is really horrifically high. But also they have these lock-in contracts. So if you sign up to a locum agency, you're bound to that agency for a year. So for example, if I was to work at Portland Hospital under an agency, go away and then come back and want to work full-time, I can't. The hospital has to pay the agency out as a kind of buyout fee, which is 3 months of a locum salary, which can be tens of thousands of dollars. So had my issues with locum agencies. And then in August last year, my partner and I got fed up with agencies and we started a new app called statDoctor, which is essentially going to be the first fully automated online marketplace for locum doctors and hospitals, with the aim to remove all the negatives of locum work. So there'll be education on there, there'll be advice and resources for locum doctors, there'll be no locum contracts, and the app doesn't take a percentage of their shifts. So locum doctors can negotiate their own wages and their own rates and be high paid. So we're trying to do something with locum work has given my partner and I a lot of amazing opportunities, and we're trying to work away. We're probably going to leave locum work in the next couple of years to go find our careers. We want to leave locuming in a better place.
Yeah, excellent initiative. On this podcast, we talk about the concept of, financial health and how often time poor to take stock of our finances. What are some good financial habits that you have implemented?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say the most important financial health is to live under what you have or live below your means, and to ensure that you're not trying to show off to other people. I think having lots of money, but then living much below what is expected of you is really important, because that way you can put your money what is actually important, which isn't cars or clothes or stuff like that, but into investments, properties and shares. Financial habits, my partner and I have a weekly check-in not just finances, we do it for our relationship as well. And I find that really beneficial. That was something my partner started, and it really has changed my views. You never really know what's going on until you can actually talk it out, and it helps you see a lot more of yourself being like, oh, I wasted, or I'm not really being as productive as I could be. I should be, I don't know, exercising more or gymming more, or let's look to invest in this property, for example. And so that's, I think, has been the most beneficial thing. I think having some sort of teammate, doesn't have to be a relationship partner, but just another person who has a similar financial goals to you, checking in and then using each other to motivate one another to keep building and growing. Because otherwise, I think you just get stagnant and you can get complacent as to your position in life.
Yeah, that's an awesome tip. You've kind of answered my next question about, any kind of tips for in trying to reach financial freedom. And I think, having that, regular check-ins so that, you're on the same page and, anything that needs to be tweaking. Yeah.
Yeah, the only other thing I'd add to that is goal setting as well. I think it's drummed in throughout high school, but I think no one does it because everyone thinks it's a waste of time. And for me, goal setting isn't thinking in the future, or one day I want to be a millionaire or a billionaire or whatever. Goal setting to me is a weekly thing of saying, hey, this week I'm going to go to the gym 4 times. I'm going to cast so that I can try and talk about things. I'm going to listen to passive doctor podcasts so I can learn more about financial literacy. I'm going to read 1 book or whatever. And so trying to weekly give yourself a list of things, because if you write them down, you make yourself have to do them, right? And then you can look back and go, oh, look, I didn't manage to do that this week. Let's make sure we do it first thing next week. And I think you'll be surprised at the progress you can make in your life. I've started doing that probably last year, and I'd say the self-development I've been able to achieve has been astronomical compared to the previous years where I've kind of been a bit more wishy-washy about my wants and goals.
Yeah, awesome. Finally, how can people learn more about what you do and connect with you?
Yeah, very happy to connect with anyone. I love talking all things finance, all things medicine, all things locum. You can find me on LinkedIn at Anurag Ganugapati, or just flick me a message on Facebook. I don't have many other socials. I'm not really that huge on other socials. But if you want to send me an email, you can email me at anu@statdoctor.app. And any kind of future locums out there, or people wanting to locum or wanting to know more about locuming, check out Stat Doctor. We're looking to launch in August.
Awesome. Thank you, Anu, for coming on to today's episode and sharing about your experiences. Very exciting, and wish you all the best.
Thanks, heaps.
So that's it, everyone, for today's show. Please reach out if you're a doctor or healthcare professional and would like to come on as well. And until next time, keep taking steps to improve your financial health.